Chapter 11. We caught up with Ursula Monkton on the lawn by the rose bushes. She was holding the jam jar with drifting wormhole inside it. It looked strange. She tugged at the lid and then stopped and looked up at the sky, and then she looked back at the jam jar once more. She ran over to my beech tree, the one with the rope ladder, and she threw the jam jar as hard as she could against the trunk. If she was trying to break it, she failed. The jam jar simply bounced off and landed on the moss that half covered the tangled roots and lay there undamaged. Ursula Monkton glared at Letty. "Why?" she said. "You know why," said Letty. "Why would you let them in?" She had started to cry, and I felt uncomfortable. I didn't know what to do when adults cried. It was something I had only seen twice before in my life. I had seen my grandparents cry when my aunt had died in hospital, and I had seen my mother cry. Adults should not weep, I knew. They did not have mothers who would comfort them. I wondered if Ursula Monkton had ever had a mother. She had mud on her face and on her knees, and she was wailing. I heard a sound in the distance, odd and outlandish, a low thrumming as if someone had plucked at a taut piece of string. "It won't be me that lets them in," said Letty Hemstock. "They go where they wants to. They usually don't come here because there's nothing for them to eat. Now there is." "Send me back," said Ursula Monkton. And now I didn't think she looked even faintly human. Her face was wrong. Somehow an accidental assemblage of features that simply put me in mind of a human face, like the knobby gray whorls and lumps on the side of a beech tree, or the patterns in the wooden headboard at the bed of my grandmother's house, which, if I looked at them wrongly in the moonlight, showed me an old man with his mouth wide open, as if he were screaming. Letty picked up the jam jar from the green moss and twisted the lid. "You've gone and got it stuck tight," she said. She walked over to the rock path, turned the jam jar upside down and holding it on the bottom, and banged it, lid side down, once, confidently against the ground, and then she turned it right side up and twisted. This time the lid came off in her hand. She passed the jam jar to Ursula Monkton, who reached inside it and pulled out the translucent thing that had once been a hole in my foot. It writhed and wriggled and flexed, seemingly a delight at her touch. She threw it down. It fell onto the grass, and it grew. Only it didn't grow. It changed, as if it was closer to me than I had thought. I could see through it from one end to the other, and I could have run down it if the far end of that tunnel had not ended in a bitter orange sky. As I stared at it, my chest twinged again, an ice-cold feeling as if I had just eaten so much ice cream that I had chilled my insides. Ursula Monkton walked toward the tunnel's mouth. How could a tiny wormhole be a tunnel? I couldn't understand it. It was still a glistening, translucent, silver-black wormhole. On the grass, no more than a foot or so long, it was as if I had zoomed in on something small. I suppose. But it was also a tunnel, and you couldn't have taken a house through it. Then she stopped, and she wailed. She said, "Way back." Only that. Incomplete. She said, "It's broken. The last of the gate isn't there." And she looked around her, troubled and puzzled. She focused on me. Not my face, but my chest. And she smiled. Then she shook. One moment she was an adult woman, naked and muddy. The next, as if she were flesh-colored umbrella, she unfurled. And as she unfurled, she reached out and she grabbed me and pulled me high up off the ground. And I reached out in fear and held her in my turn. I was holding flesh. I was 15 feet or more above the ground, as high as a tree. I was not holding flesh. I was holding old fabric, a perished, rotting canvas, and beneath it I could feel wood. Not good, solid wood, but the kind of old, decayed wood I found where trees had crumbled. The kind that always felt wet, that I could pull apart with my fingers, soft wood with tiny beetles in it and woodlice, all filled with thread-like fungus. It creaked and swayed as it held me. "Blocked the ways," it said to Letty Hemstock. "I never blocked nothing," Letty said. "You've got my friend. Put him down." She was a long way beneath me, and I was scared of heights, and I was scared of the creature that was holding me. "The path is incomplete. The ways are blocked. Put him down now. Safely. He completes the path. The path is inside him." I was certain that I would die then. I didn't want to die. My parents had told me that I wouldn't really die, not the real me, not the nobody really died when they died, that my kitten and the opal miner had just taken new bodies and would be back again soon enough. I didn't know if this was true or not. I knew only that I was used to being me, and I liked my books and my grandparents and Letty Hempstock, and that death would take all those things from me. I will open him. The way is broken. It remains inside him. I would have kicked, but there was nothing to kick against. I pulled my fingers at the limbs holding me, but my fingernails dug into rotting cloth and soft wood, and beneath it something as hard as bone, and the creature held me close. "Let me go!" I shouted. "Let me go!" No. "Mommy!" I shouted. "Daddy!" Then, "Letty, make her put me down!" My parents were not there. Letty was. She said, "Scarpatch, put him down. I gave you a choice before. Sending you home will be harder with the end of your tunnel inside him, but we can do it. And Gran can do it if Mum and me can't, so put him down." "It's inside him. It is not a tunnel. Not any longer. It does not end. I fastened the path inside him too well when I made it, and the last of it is still inside him. No matter. All I need to do to get away from here is to reach inside his chest and pull out his beating heart and finish the path and open the door." It was talking without words, the faceless, flapping thing talking directly inside my head. And yet there was something in its words that reminded me of Ursula Monckton's pretty musical voice. I knew it meant what it said. "All of your chances are used up," said Letty, as if she were telling us that the sky was blue, and she raised 2 fingers to her lips, and shrill and sweet and piercing sharp she whistled. They came, as if they had been waiting for a call. High in the sky they were in black, jet black, so black it seemed as if they were specks in my eyes, not real things at all. They had wings, but they were not birds. They were older than birds, and they flew in circles and in loops and whirls, dozens of them, hundreds perhaps, and each flapping, unburred slowly, oh ever so slowly, and descending. I found myself imagining a valley filled with dinosaurs, millions of years ago, who had died in battle or of disease, imagining first the carcasses of the rotting thunder lizards, bigger than buses, and then the vultures of that aeon, gray, black, naked, winged but featherless, faces from nightmares, beak-like snouts filled with sharp needle teeth, made for rending and tearing and devouring, and hungry red eyes. These creatures would have descended on the corpse of the great thunder lizards and left nothing but bone. Huge they were, and sleek and ancient, and it hurt my eyes to look at them. "Now," said Letty Hempstock to Ursula Monckton, "put him down." The thing that held me made me no move to drop me. It said nothing, just moved swiftly like a raggedy tall ship across the grass toward the tunnel. I could see the anger in Letty Hempstock's face. Her fists clenched so tightly the knuckles were white. I could see above us hunger birds circling. And then one of them dropped from the sky, dropped faster into them than a mind could imagine, and I felt a rush of air beside me, and I saw a black, black jaw filled with needles and eyes that burned like gas jets, and I heard a ripping noise, like a curtain being torn apart. The flying thing swooped back up into the sky with a length of gray cloth between its jaws. I heard the voice wailing inside my head, and out of it, the voice was Ursula Monckton's. They descended then as if they were all waiting for the first of their number to move. They fell from the sky onto the thing that held me, nightmares tearing at a nightmare, pulling off strips of fabric, and through it all I heard Ursula Monckton crying. "I only gave them what they needed," she was saying, petulant and afraid. "I made them happy." "You made my daddy hurt me," I said, as the thing that was holding me flailed at the nightmares that tore at its fabric. The hunger birds ripped at it, each bird silently tearing away strips of cloth and flapping heavily back into the sky to wheel and descend again. "I never made any of them do anything," it told me. For a moment I thought it was laughing at me, and then the laughter became a scream so loud it hurt my ears and my mind. I hit the grass hard, skidding my knees and the palms of my hands. Letty pulled me up, held me away from the fallen, crumpled remains of what had once called itself Ursula Monckton. There was still gray cloth, but it was not cloth. It writhed and rolled on the ground beside me, blown by no wind that I could perceive, a squirming, maggoty mess. The hunger birds landed on it like seagulls on the beach of stranded fish, and they tore at it as if it had not eaten for 1,000 years and needed to stuff itself now, as it might be for another years or longer before they would eat again. They tore at the grey stuff, and in my mind I could hear it screaming the whole time as they crammed its rotting canvas flesh into their sharp maws. Letty held my arms. She didn't say anything. We waited. And when the screaming stopped, I knew that Ursula Monkton was gone forever. Once the black creatures had finished devouring the thing on the grass, and nothing remained, not even the tiniest scrap of grey cloth. Then they turned their attention to the translucent tunnel, which wriggled and twitched like a living thing. Several of them grasped it in their claws, and then they flew up with it, pulling it into the sky while the rest of them tore at it, demolishing it with their hungry mouths. I thought then that when they finished it, it would go away, return to wherever it came from, but they did not. They descended. I tried to count them as they landed, and I failed, but I thought that there were hundreds of them, but I might have been wrong. There might have been 20 of them, there might have been 1,000. I could not explain it. Perhaps they were from a place where such things as counting didn't apply, somewhere outside of time and numbers. They landed, and I stared at them, but saw nothing but shadows. So many shadows. And they were staring at us. "All right, you've done what you came here for. You got your prey. You cleaned up. You go home now." The shadows didn't move. "Go!" she said. The shadows on the grass stayed exactly where they were. If anything, they seemed darker, more real than they had been before. "You have no power over us." "Perhaps I don't," said Letty. "But I called you here, and now I'm telling you to go home. You devoured Scarthatch on the keep. You've done your business. Now clear off." "We are cleaners. We came to clean." "Yes, and you've cleaned the thing you came for. Go home." "Not everything," sighed the wind in the rhododendron bush and the rustles of the grass. Letty turned to me and put her arms around me. "Come on," she said, quickly. We walked across the lawn rapidly. "I'm taking you down to the fairy ring. You have to wait there until I come and get you. Don't leave. Not for anything." "Why not?" "Because something bad could happen to you. I don't think I could get you back to the farmhouse safely, and I can't fix this on my own. But you're safe in the ring. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, don't leave it. Just stay where you are and you'll be fine." "It's not a real fairy ring," I told her. "That's just our games. It's a green circle of grass." "It is what it is," she said. "Nothing that wants to hurt you can cross it. Now stay inside." She squeezed my hand and walked me into the green grass circle. Then she ran off into the rhododendron bushes, and she was gone.